Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I am in full vacation mode. I have 7 days left before I fly out to Portugal and Spain with the family. Thus the beer here that is going to accompany me, I apologize up front if I have a few drinks, while I go through the gear that I'm going to be taking on my 2-week European vacation. So as I mentioned, we will be traveling through Portugal and the south of Spain. So we're going to fly into Lisbon, and then we are going to kind of explore around, rent a car, and just see where it takes us. So I am planning on doing a lot of photo and a lot of video work. So I thought it'd be fun if I took us through what exactly am I going to take. Now, I'm going to take a lot of stuff, and the reason I'm going to take so much is two things. First of all, I'm not a professional photographer. I'm not a professional videographer. Kind of don't know what I'm doing sometimes. I kind of make this up as I go. I've been doing this for the last 2 or 3 years as a hobbyist. I've learned a lot. I've watched a million hours of YouTube videos, it seems like, and I'm getting better and better. But I've also invested in, quite a bit of gear over the last 3 years, and I want to take as much as I can and see what I use and what I don't use. Being on the road for a 2-week extended vacation and really putting the gear to the test will allow me to see what do I use, what do I don't use, and then will allow me to pack more efficiently in the future. So let's get started. Alright, so first thing we're going to chat about is the cameras that I will be taking. So I do still photography and I do videography. Again, not professional. I have a full-time job. This is just for fun, something I'm passionate about. So I will be taking this camera here that I'm shooting with, and this is the A7 III, my newest purchase. I sold the A7S II, upgraded to this. People say it's a downgrade, but it's not. It's actually a much better camera in a lot of ways. So I'm really excited to put this camera to the full test. I've been shooting with it for about a month. I will also be taking an A6500, which is the crop sensor Sony camera, and I will be taking a few other little goodies to get me through my adventure. Alright, first other camera that I will be taking is this guy here, and this is the RX100 Mark V. They just announced the RX100 Mark VI today. So this is a great little camera. It's a point and shoot, shoots 4K, which is amazing. It's a great vlogging camera, takes good still pictures, and it fits in your pocket. So if I don't want to tote around the big camera, the big lenses, I'm going to go straight to this guy here. Can't say enough good things about this camera here. Alright, so second fun camera, smaller camera that I'm going to be bringing is one of my newest purchases, and this is the GoPro Fusion 360 camera. I haven't done a whole lot of shooting with it. In fact, I've done very little. I just got it about a week ago. But the concept, obviously, 360 video, 2 lenses, front and back, or back and front, however you want to look at it. I'm really excited to experiment with this. I've seen some of the footage online, and it's pretty incredible. It's definitely not something I will use a lot. It'll probably be to augment certain shots. Maybe if I'm in a really, beautiful, picturesque place and I want to get more of an immersive experience, I think that I will probably pull this thing out here. All right, and another camera that I will be bringing, and this is probably the best action camera that, in my opinion, that's on the market right now, and this is the Sony, it's got a long name, the Sony FDR-X3000. They need to come up with a better name for this thing. Shoots 4K video. The image stabilization in this thing is incredible. The picture quality is much, much better than a GoPro Hero 5 or Hero 6. The stabilization is basically on par with a gimbal in this little guy here. It's a Zeiss lens, which, speaks for itself. And I vlog with this. I've vlogged with this for probably 5 or 6 videos. And, it's got microphone inputs back here. I don't know, I absolutely love this thing. The only negative about this one versus like the GoPro Hero 5 or Hero 6 is that it's not waterproof like this. You have to put it in the plastic case. That's the only drawback to this camera compared to the GoPros, which we'll get to. All right, beer break.
Let's just let you know.
All right, and even though I said that I have the best action camera on the market, I will also be bringing my Hero 5. This is something that I bought prior to buying the Sony that I just introduced. This is still a great action camera. What I love about this one, even though the stabilization is okay, it's not great. The picture sometimes in this is oversaturated, but it's waterproof like this. I can go swimming with this, I can put this at the bottom of the pool, I can get really cool angles with this. Again, it would never be my primary shooter by any means, but to augment your videos, to get that angle that maybe you couldn't get with a bigger camera, these things are amazing. All right, so I have 2 cameras left that I will be taking on my European adventure, and this one will be this guy here. And this is the DJI Mavic Air, brand new drone. It's been out about 2 or 3 months. I have never flown this thing yet. I bought it and just have never had a chance to go out and fly it. I know that sounds really lame because I do use a lot of my other gear, but I live in Shanghai, China, which is a city of 25 million people, and the local laws require that you don't fly it over people. When I live in a city of 25 million people, there's people pretty much everywhere. So it's hard for me to get this up and feel confident, especially as a foreigner, to where if a cop approached me, I wouldn't know what to say. I probably just need to get over that because I do see quite a few people flying drones. I see footage like on Instagram and stuff. But I'm gonna break this in Portugal and Spain and get some, hopefully some really great shots. Again, 4K footage, super tiny package. This folds down to just almost down to nothing. Perfect travel drone. The last camera seems kind of self-explanatory, kind of obvious, but my iPhone 10. This, honestly, this is really all you need. I have quite a few cameras and I have quite a few lenses, which we're gonna get to next. But really, if you're on a budget, all you have is your camera. You can make amazing videos. You can take amazing pictures just from an iPhone. Highly recommended. The cameras on board this thing are absolutely incredible. I actually shoot a lot of my vlog footage still on my iPhone and then intercut it with the more expensive cameras. Beer break. This is not sponsored by Goose Island, by the way. Like I said, I've got 7 days before I leave on vacation, so I'm pre-partying. All right, guys, so now that I've gone through the cameras that I will be taking with me, it's time to talk about the lenses. And a camera's pretty useless without a way to focus the light. And that's what lenses do. And I have invested over the last 3 years in some pretty good glass. Some of the recommendations, some of the advice that I've read from professional photographers, they have been consistent in saying, if you're gonna go cheap, go cheaper on the camera to a certain extent and invest in the glass. Lenses hold their value incredibly well. To give you an example, I had a Sony G Master 85mm 1.4 that I bought in Hong Kong on sale, and I sold here in China 2 years later and broke even. And I was able to do that for a couple of reasons. I bought it on special in Hong Kong, but then I also benefited from a really great currency exchange rate. So it goes to show you that with lenses, you may break even or lose just a little bit, even years after the purchase. So if you're going to invest in anything, invest in good glass. So let's get started on the lenses that I am going to bring on this adventure. All right, so first one is going to be my telephoto lens, and this is the G Master 70-20 2.8. They do make an f4 version of this that is lighter and cheaper. Some days I wish I would have gotten that because this thing is absolutely heavy. But once you see the images that come out of this lens, you'll never go back. Positives, beautiful out of focus backgrounds. The bokeh on this is insane at 2.8. Sharpness, incredible. Downside, it's heavy. I mean, I don't know the specs on it, but it's not a light lens. So you will definitely feel this in your hand all day or in your backpack, but on vacation, shooting either landscape or really great portraits from a distance, you can't go wrong with this lens. All right, and the next lens on the Holy Trinity, which are the top 3 lenses that any photographer needs, is the 24-70 G Master. This is also a 2.8 lens, great lens. Again, a little on the heavy side, but this lens, this focal distance, the 24 to 70, this is the classic zoom range that you would want. Really, if you could only afford one lens, I would recommend a 24 to 70 with the lowest aperture you can find. Sony makes a great one in their G Master series, and this, you know, I've taken some really great photos with this. I've also taken really great video. Autofocus is fast, pictures are sharp, is a little heavy. That's the only downside. All right, and the final lens in the Holy Trinity is exactly what I'm shooting on now, and this is the 16 to 35 G Master 2.8. This is probably one of the sharpest lenses I have ever owned, especially for a zoom, and especially at the 2.8. At 2.8, this thing is incredibly sharp. It's lighter than the 24-70, it's smaller in the hand than the 24-70, so if you could only pick one lens to take with you, a lot of people say 24-70 like I just recommended. I pack this lens actually more than the 24-70. I mean, I don't know why. I think it's because I shoot a lot of street photography, so this focal length really lends itself to that. So I don't know, I just really love this lens. I think it probably too because of the weight. So I packed the 16 to 35 G Master 2.8, probably definitely more than the 24-70. But a lot of people argue that you would need both. All right, so now that I am done with the zoom lenses and the holy trinity of lenses that people refer to, I will be going into the prime lenses I will be taking with me. So first up is probably my favorite lens I own right now, and it is a brand new purchase. And it is this guy here, which is the Sigma Art 50mm 1.4. Now, this is a brand new lens. This has been on the market maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I think I've had it for 2 weeks. It's heavy. It's definitely a heavy lens. Some of the pictures that I've taken with this lens are the best photos I've ever taken in my life. The color, the sharpness, the bokeh in the background are absolutely breathtaking. If you could buy one prime lens and you're a portrait or street, even you can get away with some street photography with a 50mm focal length, I recommend this lens if you're shooting Sony. It is a native FE mount now, which is awesome. You don't have to use the what's it called, MC11 adapter, I think it's what it's called. It is heavy, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably, if you look at the footprint of the lens, it's definitely the heaviest for the size in hand. It's all metal, beautiful lens, beautifully crafted. Absolutely my favorite lens right now. So I will be taking this, and this will probably be mounted on the A7 III 70% of the time. I've been shooting a lot with this. Can't say enough good things. Sigma Art 50mm 1.4. Go get one. All right, guys, so my next prime lens that I will be taking with me is the Sony Zeiss 35mm 1.4, and this is my second favorite lens, probably. It was the #1 lens before the, #2, before the new Sigma 50. And, you know, I thought about leaving this behind because I've got this focal length covered with the 2.8 G Master and the 24 to 70 G Master, and I've got the 16 to 35 G Master. I've got 35mm covered, but there's just something about this lens. The color renditions in this, the sharpness, again, the 1.4 aperture. I don't think I can leave this behind. I don't know. I'm gonna think about it, but I think this will definitely go into the bag. All right, now final prime lens, and this is another Zeiss, and this is the Zeiss Batis line, and this is the 85mm. This is a 1.8, so it's not as fast as the last couple I've been showing. I did used to have the Sony 1.4, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and that was a fantastic lens. There was nothing wrong with it, except it was super heavy. The autofocus was also super loud, so if you were shooting video, I don't know why you'd shoot a ton of video with an 85, maybe B-roll, which you might not use sound anyways if you're shooting the B-roll, but I just found it kind of annoying, and the autofocus was slow and low light. This is definitely better so far in my experience. I haven't used this a ton. I've had it for a couple months. Pictures are great. I don't notice the difference between the 1.4 and the 1.8 really for what I do. Again, I'm not a professional. So I will definitely be taking this. It's super light. which is nice. Great build quality, all metal, beautiful lens. All right, so last two lenses I'll be taking, and again, I know this is overkill. I've said it a million times, I'm taking way too much stuff, but I'm gonna be vlogging, and I'll be vlogging probably mostly on the RX100 Mark V that I already introduced, and the A6500, which I'm shooting over here as like a B-roll camera. And I need lenses on that. So there's two lenses I'm gonna be taking. I'm just gonna introduce them quickly. One is a prime lens, and this is the 16mm Sigma, and this is from their contemporary line, so it's not as high-end as the Art series that I introduced earlier. This is a great lens. Autofocus is really good. Not great, but it's really good. It's 1.4 aperture, which is great. So wide field of view. When you put it on the A6500, you know, you gotta times that by 1.5 or 1.6 or whatever it is. Do the math on that. So that is like a 20, what is that? I don't know. I'm terrible at math. Somewhere in the 20s, 24, 25 millimeter on this guy. And then this is the Sony, and this is the 10 to 18, 10 to 18? Yeah, 10 to 18, but this is an f.4, so you're not gonna get that beautiful bokeh, but this is autofocus. I believe it's image stabilized. Yes, it's also image stabilized. This is the go-to vlogging lens. Super wide angle for walking around, getting a lot of the background behind you when you're in a beautiful place. This thing lived on the A6500 when I was vlogging with it quite a bit last year, so I will definitely be taking this on the trip. All right guys, so I've gone through cameras, I've gone through lenses. Next up is how do I make the footage look silky smooth? And I'm gonna bring two stabilizers with me. So first up is this guy here, and this is the Zhiyun Crane 2. I've had the 1, and yeah, I had the 1 before that, sold that, and I upgraded to the 2. So the plus on this thing is the motors here, here, and here are bigger and stronger, so you can mount larger setups. So I can put the G Master lenses on the A7 Mark III and have no problem with this gimbal whatsoever. Downside is it's big, it's heavy. This, which is a follow focus, doesn't work on Sony cameras. I don't really care. I use autofocus usually because again, I'm not a professional. And it's kind of clunky to carry around. That's the only problem with gimbals. I will say though, some of my earlier vlogs had zero stabilization and it shows. So I've learned my lesson on stabilization. It's a must if you want to really up your game when it comes to quality. So I invested in this guy. I will be packing it in my luggage, and we'll see how much I use it. All right guys, so that brings me to my second stabilizer, and this is the DJI Osmo Mobile 2, and this is for your phone. You clip your phone in right here. Besides my phone and besides my cameras, this is the piece of technology that I probably use the most. I use this thing almost every day. I shoot quite a bit of my Instagram stories on this guy. I've had a lot of people DM me and they say, oh, your Instagram stories are like so smooth and they look so cinematic, and it's not me, it's this thing. So I highly recommend this. The cool thing about this, it's $129 I think, or $119. I think it's $129. Fits in your backpack, it's made of plastic. It's not the most durable thing in the world, but for $129, if it breaks, you know, you can buy a new one. The beautiful thing about it being in plastic is it's super light. It's not perfect. It doesn't always balance great. I'll be honest. Some of my shots kind of look like this because I can't get the arm perfectly balanced all the time. The cool thing though is that it has really great automated features. So it has time lapse, it has hyperlapse, it has a motion time lapse. All from the touchscreen app that's built in for the DJI Go app. So highly, highly, highly recommend this. Probably one of my favorite gadgets. So, all right guys, so we are coming up towards the end of this long video, and I apologize, but I am taking a lot of stuff. So next up is, once you have the footage, once you want to do something with it, edit it, or color correct it, or upload it to the internet, you're gonna need some sort of storage. So I'm going to go through just really quickly of the storage devices that have really worked great for me that I will be taking on this trip. All right, so first up is the Lakey Rugged, and this is a USB-C 2 terabyte drive. And this one here, this is all of my Lightroom catalogs. So I'm going to buy 2 more of these The other two, as I show you like they're stacked up, the other two will be for backups of my editing drives. This one here will be my photo library. Which brings me to the drives that I edit on, and I edit on solid state drives because they are fast. And the two different types I use, so I use these G drive, and these are brand new. These are the G drive solid state. They're both 1 terabyte. They are drop proof, crush proof, waterproof up to a certain rating. I'm not really sure. I don't plan on getting them wet, but for travel, they're really great. If you throw them in a backpack and it gets rained on or something spills inside the backpack, these things are going to survive. Highly recommend these. And then I've got the Samsung T5s. These are also both 1 terabyte. And they are not water or dust or crush or drop proof, I don't think, like the G drives are. But I bought these first, and these have worked really great. With all of these solid state drives, guys, the reason I buy these, and they are expensive, to be honest, they're super fast when editing 4K video. If you're going to be editing 4K video, I shoot on 4K, I usually upload in 1080, but editing 4K, these are absolute must. If you try to do it on a spinning hard drive, it's just too slow nowadays. So get yourself a couple of these, and then what I do with these is I edit on these, and then I move the footage to the backup C drives that I showed earlier, and then I wipe these, so these will always be clean. All right, guys, last piece of storage that I have is your SD cards. You really can't get far without these guys. This is where you capture your images. I have a collection of 128 and 64. I usually buy one of these a month. I don't know. I just kind of get in the habit of every time I go to the camera store to see what's new, I usually pick one of these up. They're fairly inexpensive now. China, I can usually find 128 only. Every once in a while I'll see a 256, but then the price is usually higher. So I stick to 128s and 64 gigs. It gets me through. Again, I'm not shooting a ton. This is probably actually overkill for the trip, especially if I back them up and then I wipe it. All right, guys, one last little piece of gear that I will be taking with me is this little LED light panel. And this thing's pretty cool. You know, I got it for really cheap. I don't remember how much, but it's probably not the best thing, but it's pretty bright. And you can adjust the Kelvin on it. So you can get bluer lights, you can get warmer. You may not be able to see the difference on camera now, but charges right here, which is pretty cool. And if you just needed to get a little bit more light into your scene, and you can dim it down. I'm trying to see here on my monitor off here. You can kind of dim it down. So if you just wanted a little bit of light in a scene. Other cool thing is that you can attach it to a tripod here or off on a little articulated arm to the side of your camera if you wanted to just get a little bit more light on your subject. So I will definitely be taking this. It's also nice and flat, so it packs nice. I think this was 20 bucks, maybe. I don't even know if it was $20. Anyways, pretty cool. All right, guys, so thank you for your patience. Thanks for watching me go through all of the pieces of gear that I'll be taking on this long trip. I'm excited for the trip. I'm excited to go, and I'm excited to capture it as best I can. That's why I'm taking all of this stuff. It's definitely overkill, as I mentioned before, and you know, as I go through this and as I make this video and as I upload it and share it with all of you, I don't want anybody to think you have to take this much stuff. I don't want anybody to think that you have to own this much stuff. I don't need to own this much stuff, probably. You know, I'm just getting into this. It's been about 3 years teaching myself photography and videography and really having a good time with it. So when you get it, you know, you're new to something, you get excited, you probably overbuy. I do have a full-time job, so you know, I have some discretionary income that I can kind of play with. But what I want everybody to know is that you can make great videos, you can take great pictures on your phone, which I will do probably more than I care to admit, especially as I'm lugging all of this stuff that I just shared with you around Portugal and Spain. So anyhow, like always, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see what else I'm up to, please check out my website, which is nomadicthrive.com. I'll link it in one of those little things, or it'll definitely be in the notes. You can also check me out on Instagram. So it's Michael B. Mast on Instagram, and I'll put a little bubble somewhere on the screen so you can find it. And again, guys, I just really appreciate all the support. If you have comments, questions, anything like that on this video, I would really appreciate any and all feedback. Like I said, it's a somewhat new channel, and I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to get better, so any comments from you guys would be greatly appreciated. So I will see you next time.